Okay, so DJI has released a new firmware update for this DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro to address some of the issues that we mentioned previously on this camera. I made a video about this update, but I couldn't cover all the aspects of it. So here is the part 2. And by the way, it was a hassle to have this firmware update installed. Hello everyone, I hope you are all good. In today's video I'm going to talk once again about the firmware update for this DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. This video is not sponsored by DJI or any other brand. I'm making this one because I couldn't cover everything on the first video that I released on this topic. And DJI, once they released this camera, by the way, they started to receive lots of messages, lots of comments about the image quality, about the bitrate and so on. So they decided with this firmware update supposedly to address these issues. In today's video, we're gonna dive deeper into this firmware update, whether in high speed motion, whether in low light, and I'll get back a little bit to the video I posted about this firmware update on the still images I took with this camera. Just to let you know that I really like DJI Brand, I really like DJI products, and if I'm making these kind of videos, me and some other creators, just to push DJI to deliver better image quality, better product, better firmware and so on. But I have no issues at all with the DJI as a brand. I still like this brand. I have, this is here the Action 4 that I still have. This is the Action 5 Pro. I have the Pocket 3 somewhere here. I have some drones from DJI, some gimbals and so on. So I really like this brand, but I hope that they can deliver better products and better consumer products, especially in the upcoming future. On another note, I wanted to tell you that it was a hassle to install this firmware update on my camera, because if you've been here on my channel before, you know that I had issues connecting the camera to my Google Pixel 8. I struggled a lot with that. I contacted DJI support team. They sent me many versions of the DJI Mimo app and none was working until the last one that works. And on this application, I didn't receive the notification of the firmware update. So I contacted them again. They told me that this firmware was suspended and they gave me many other DJI Mimo versions. And finally, one of them worked and I got this firmware update. This is the firmware V01010520 on this DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro. Finally, I received it on my Google Pixel phone. So if you would like to get it, I highly recommend you to go to DJI website to scan the QR code on their website to install the latest application, and do not follow the link that they have on their website. Just go to the QR code, it's better. You will get the working application, actually the application that works for me. Anyway, this firmware is about adjusting the bitrate. Now we have standard and high bitrates, and we have better low light image quality, that's what they say, and better overall image quality. So let's talk about that in today's video. Let's talk about why I made my video, the first part of this series, and I was not making some action shots. I was not moving very fast with this camera. The answer is, if the bitrate cannot address these issues when the camera is not moving so fast, how can you expect it to happen or to address these issues if the camera is moving fast? You are adding much more parameters for the camera to manage, and that will be very difficult. That's why my first test was in a walk and talk situation, in a vlog scenario and so on. And to be honest, I tried 4K 25 frame per second, 60 frame per second, 8-bit, 10-bit color depth, standard bitrate, high bitrate, and I didn't find any noticeable difference. Of course, you can zoom in, you can find like small things, but I'm not gonna pixel peep on the images. I didn't see a noticeable difference. We still have that skin tones that is very off because of the HDR look, that I wish they added that toggle to remove the HDR. We still have these halos around subjects. We still have these muddy clouds in the sky. So bitrate didn't address this issue at all. So honestly, now I think that The firmware update didn't address the image quality issue because we didn't see any improvement in image quality in daytime, in my opinion. If you saw some differences, please write that in the comment section below so we can discuss about it. I think it's more of a processor way of processing the files on the camera that should be addressed in another firmware update, or maybe the bitrate, the improvement in bitrate is not enough to handle these files coming out of this camera. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below as well. And I made also some battery tests with the new firmware with the high bitrate and the standard bitrate. I made it before, but the high bitrate was just a few days ago. And to be honest, I didn't get into depleting the battery completely because I got some overheating on the camera at about 130 minutes. So this is not a big deal because I was making the test indoor in 20°C temperature room. So this camera is meant to be used outdoors and we might not see these overheating issues outdoors. I'm very aware of that. But yeah, I made this test in the same condition as when I made my test with the first firmware. With the first firmware I got 176 minutes without overheating. With this one I got overheating at around 130 minutes. So this is just to be recorded, to be told, to be written, and to be known on this camera in indoor situation. If this camera is not moving and we don't have some airflow around it, it will obviously overheat at high bit rates. On another note, after reading the comments I got on the first part of this firmware update video, I decided to mount this camera on a car. I used the Telesin magnetic mount, which is an amazing one. I really liked it. I was very afraid in the beginning, but I didn't scratch the car at all and the camera was perfectly stable on top of this mount, and that's something amazing. I run this test in 4K 60 frames per second, horizon balancing, auto exposure, auto white balance. I made videos with standard bitrate and high bitrate. I was shooting in 10-bit color depth just because lots of people want this 10-bit, although I'm not a big fan of 10-bit color depth on such cameras, and I made many videos about that. And again, when I saw the footages on the computer, I didn't see a noticeable difference. Once again, you might say you have to zoom in, you have to make like 4x digital zoom on the files, but these cameras are not made to have this digital zoom. If we can talk about that, because we don't have the clarity zoom, we don't have optical zoom, and digital zoom is not something that I like doing on my videos, on my photos neither. So yeah, if you'd like to get some nice footages out of this camera, whether you are shooting in standard bitrate or high bitrate on a car which was moving around 50 to 60 kilometers per hour, I don't see a noticeable difference on both footages with standard bitrate and high bitrate. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. On another note, on this firmware update, DJI claimed to improve image quality in low light conditions, and I can totally agree with that. I really like the image quality in low light with this camera. I made some shots here in my studio, in the shop, and in the city at night, and I can see that the image quality is quite interesting on this one. We have lots of flares, by the way, when the camera is facing the light. These kind of flares, we don't see them very exaggerated, whether on the Insta360 Ace Pro, the first generation, or even on the DJI Action 4. So we have some flares on this camera when it's facing the light. If you like this kind of effect, that's good, that's perfect. If no, that means that the problem is coming from the lens filter here, and I'm sure that third-party manufacturers will make some lens guards for this camera in order to reduce this flare a little bit, but the flare is very well seen on this camera once it is starting to face some light, whether in my studio, in the shops, or even in the city. I took this camera also last night to the city to make some videos, some rushes with it, to see whether it handles well the low light conditions and the city lights at night. And I took with me also the Insta360 Ace Pro, the first generation, side by side, just to see if we have some differences. I can literally say that the image quality, the overall image quality in low light of this Action 5 Pro was way more interesting in my opinion than the one that we have with the Insta360 Ace Pro. Remember, this is the first generation, it's not the second generation that will arrive in few days. So the low light capabilities of this one are very good compared to the Action 4, and compared to the Action 5 with this new firmware update, the Action 5 Pro wins easily over this camera. But I noticed that whenever I was shooting yesterday a bright shop in the city at night, I got better colors and better details with the Insta360 Ace Pro 1 compared to the DJI Action 5 Pro. And then I realized that the overall image on the DJI is brighter, we have more sharpness compared to this Insta360 Ace Pro 1. That's something very well seen on the footage I got yesterday, but I think that the Insta360 is enhancing some parts of the image with the AI technology inside. That's why we got like the shops very well detailed and very well lit and with nice colors compared to the shops that I got with this DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro, and that's a matter of preference once again. I like how the shops look on this one, and I like how the overall image and low light looks on this Action 5 Pro. I'm very excited to see how the Ace Pro 2 will be performing against this Action 5 Pro in this condition. Anyway, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Now I'm very excited to see the new Ace Pro 2 that will arrive very soon on the market, and I'm very excited also to see if DJI will make another firmware update with, for example, the HDR that can be toggled on or off. Let me know your thoughts. What do you wish to have on the new firmware from DJI? And what are your expectations about the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 in terms of low light capabilities and so on? And thank you for watching. Ciao for now.